So in order to do this, we have to take different measurements from different angles. The valve cover might be fake, but the oil cap is not. Let me see that valve. Let me see. Give me that thing, man. It does this whenever I want it to. Alright guys, and welcome back to another episode of AHC Garage. We are on the second part of the issues with my hatchback. Now, that being said, we already determined that we're having an issue with the head gasket on cylinder number 1. So, what we're going to do on this episode is we're going to come through, we're going to show you how we check the head for flatness and also the deck of the block using a couple special tools and the factory manual. Now, if we don't see anything that shows us any significant warpage in that area, we're just going to go ahead and tie this into a possible head gasket issue. It was a Cometic head gasket. I haven't really had any issues with those before. We went with a JE Pro Seal. This is, I should say, 0.033 over the factory 0.030, so it's a little bit thicker. The JE Pro Seal is supposed to help a little bit better with some of these boost motors. At least that's what I hear. I don't have a lot of experience with it, and also it is now discontinued. So there's a couple of these left in inventory some places, so that's about where we're going. So the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and check the head for flatness with our straight edge and a feeler gauge, and then we're going to check the block as well. I don't think anything should be bad. It never overheated. It's only been on about 11 to 12 pounds of boost at the most, and everything's been freshly machined. But let's go ahead and double check it before we put the head back on. In order to check the head for flatness, let's see, we got this right here, almost for the block. This is how it's done. So you use a precision straight edge. We have that right here. It's from Cornwell, and it's literally a piece of steel with a highly precise machined edge to it. When this is stored, I always put a little coat of oil and the edge protector on it. I've had this for many years, and as long as you maintain it, it should continue to work just fine. But the best thing is you gotta make sure you get no rust on this edge because it's a raw machine surface. So in order to do this, we have to take different measurements from different angles. We have to measure this way, this way, this way, this way, across on an angle, and across this way. As you can see here, that's how you break it all down. Our biggest area that we're really only concerned with is in this area right here, because that is where the head gasket was leaking. So mostly around cylinder 1 is where we're going to be concentrating a lot of our checks. So let's go ahead and start doing that with this right now. And the tolerance is 0.05 millimeters. And that would be checked like this. So I'd put this right on the deck right here, try and get it as flat as possible, and then we would see if the feeler gauge can get by. So that area would be good, and we're going to just move it up slightly. You also want to make sure that your straight edge is flat. Let's do a check across the skinny part of the cylinders. And then we'll check this angle here. You also want to make sure that you're not interfering with anything else sticking past, like an intake manifold or a bracket. Alright, I think we're pretty good at saying the head is not warped. We didn't expect it to be warped. Now let's go over here and check the deck of the block. So here on the block, we've already gone ahead and taking a brown Scotch-Brite pad and we just cleaned up the whole surface here. There was a little residue left over from the leaking head gasket. It's probably compression or exhaust gases that was right here. It all cleaned up very easily. Now we're gonna go ahead and check everything. This one's a little more difficult because this is a longer tool and it does interfere with a few things, so we just got to check everything in the right order. This is the most important measurement right here, and we can see this feeler gauge is not getting in. I think we're pretty safe to say the deck isn't warped, but we're just going to go ahead and check it in every location possible so we don't make any mistakes and misdiagnose this issue. Alright, so we have totally passed our tests. All of our specs are beyond the factory service limit of flatness. So we're not warped on the head. We have no inconsistencies. This was either an issue with me torquing the head down or a failure of the head gasket out the box. So now that we have this set up, we're going to go ahead and get our new head gasket on here, put our dowel pins on, set the head on, then install our head studs because we have a clearance issue with the supercharger and the brake master cylinder. So that's how we're going to do it. So let's get it done. So this is the JE Pro Seal head gasket. It's supposed to, like I said, it's supposed to seal a little bit better. The design around the cylinders almost is supposed to have some sort of built-in firing ring on it, if you will. I've heard good stuff about it. It's also a 4-layer gasket over the 3-layer that we had. So let's go ahead and set this on there. We got everything cleaned up on both sides, and all we gotta do is install it. Back. Put the back down more. Back down more.
There's a hose right here.
Yeah, that's all right. All right. Right there.
I think you know money.
Yep. That's on. Very nice. So now we're going to put our head studs in, and we're going to work from there. So we're going to put these in the block. I put some grease on the threads at the top where the washer and nut will go. There's a light bit of oil on these here, but we're not actually tightening on the threads. So what I like to do with these is I screw them in till they stop, and then I like to turn it back about quarter turn. So we're stopped, and I come back about there. That's how I usually do all these. I haven't really had a problem with them since then. With the ARP head stud or any head stud like this, as opposed to a head bolt, you're not actually tightening off the threads in the block. What you're doing is you're sending the stud down into the threads, and then you're using a bolt to clamp down the head on the top of the stud. A little different than a head bolt, because then you're using the threads to pull it down into the block. So a little bit different theory on the head studs, but they're supposed to have a lot better clamping force. Alright, so that's our last head stud. Once we get this one in, we're going to grease up the washers, put the washers on, and then we're going to get the nuts and then start torquing this thing down. You put grease on both sides of the washer. Alright, so the first step is going to be 20 foot-pounds, and what this is going to do is get the head down and seat the gasket. But since we got the supercharger on here, the head isn't sitting completely flat. So I'm going to go back and forth on these middle two. That way we torque the head down flat and we don't get it cocked off on any weird angle. Boom, 45. Alright. Yes.
No.
Alright, so we have our cams set in place. I never loosened the timing on this as far as the tensioner goes or anything along those lines. We just loosened up the cams. We lifted the cams up, and then when we laid them back down, we caught it right back on TDC. We set the crank, we caught the cams right back, and then we're going to bolt the cams down. Alright, so we're going to put some Honda Bond where the cam caps go on both sides here. Alright, so we're reusing the old gasket on this valve cover. We do have another valve cover for this, but that's going to be a little bit more involved and take some extra fitting due to the oil catch can area. But for now, we're just going to slap this back on. We're going to throw Honda Bond in the corners, which there's already a little bit there, but we're going to put a little bit more. Temperature gauge. Thanks. Okay, so the last thing you saw, we almost had this whole thing back together. We had a few people reach out to us and recommend a different torque spec for the head studs. So more than a couple people said 80 is the way to go. We did it at 70. So I pulled it back apart real quick, and we're going to go ahead and torque this up to 80 foot-pounds and then finish putting it back together because we got everything done, including the header back from getting coated. You guys are going to love how that looks. Let's come take a look at it real quick. So here it is. Last time you saw it, it was stainless. It's still, but it is now ceramic coated inside and out. This is from Hot Shot over in Davie. They do a really good job. This will also keep temps down and, what do you call it? It's like a corrosion inhibitor, if you will, so it won't rust. It'll maintain this finish. We also did this on our NSX project, but in a different finish. You guys are really going to like that one. So let's go ahead and get the head torqued down and get this thing back together because I'm really, really ready to drive it. Everything's torqued to 80 foot-pounds. We went over it 2 times with the little rest in between. So now we're just going to finish slapping it together like we already did once before. Get the header on, get the oil change cooling in the car, and get it running. So the Honda Bond's on the head and all four corners. We got everything checked in and ready to go. So we're just gonna put this cover back on. And then we'll get the grommets on, coil packs on, a few more things, get all the fluids in the system, get her running. We have our iridium plugs here, and they're gap to 0.028. And we're going to go ahead and pop these in here, torque them down, and then throw the Digi coil on plug on, and we're one step closer.
You marked it, right?
Yeah. Hi-ya! Alright, this part's not fun at all. Whoever said extended studs were fun. Not me! Whew. They say mechanics know how to hit the spot every time, Mike.
Yeah, I see it, man.
You see what you can do with your fingers?
Yeah, you got some good hand skills there.
Yeah. In high school, they had a special name for me.
What is that?
They call me sausage fingers.
Oh, wow.
Let's get this thing. Oh, someone's screaming out there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll get the wrench. We'll tighten this up. Then we have to fill our cooling system here. And we're going to do a quick oil change, and we'll be ready to fire this thing up. So, time for the oils. Alright, so we're just going to drain this oil out because we may have gotten some coolant in it with the head removal. And I think it only has like 200 or 300 miles on it. But we got some fresh oil. Yeah, look how nasty it is. Alright, well that oil was way dirtier than I expected. So good call on the oil change. I'm using VR1 conventional 40 weight oil on this motor. And that's what my engine builder said, and that's what we've been using, no problems. So we're right in the home stretch. All we gotta do is fill up the oil, bleed the cooling system, and get her back on the road, smoke these tires, because that's what they want to do. Nice wheel. These bolts are tight. All right, we're gonna bleed the cooling system for the intercooler. So we'll show you right now. Nice. Oh!
John, what was that?
What
was that, man?
It was bad aim, bro.
It was way off.
It's late at night, man. I don't think anyone respects my lack of sleep. Alright, so we're going to get the oil in the car. We're going to put the coolant reservoir filler neck back on here. We let it sit overnight. And right now, if you could see, there's a new valve cover on here. That would be the Fugen valve cover on there. It is not real at all. Hence the reason it doesn't look like a regular Mugen valve cover. It already came with these ports on it. I want to see if this all works for my setup. I just kind of like the look of it. And I have a coil plate for this that I have to make fit. Just takes a little modification on these coils. But the valve cover might be fake, but the oil cap is not. Let me see that valve. Let me see. Give me that thing, man. There you go. We have the Mugen 1.5 re-release oil cap. We're going to toss on this just to, you know, soften the fake all over this funk right here. So let's get everything loaded up and then we'll get her started. This is the oil I'm running. It's a VR1 40 weight conventional, non-synthetic. This is what my engine builder recommends, and this is what we've been running after we did our AMSOIL break-in oil. So we'll get this loaded up here, get her fired up, pray for no leaks and no problems, and hopefully be on the road shortly. One time it took a lot. The first fire up. Alright. We're going to leave the coin not attached yet. Alright. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so we're going to put the cap on, but we took the coin off. We'll wait to put that on once we make sure everything is fit right, and we're not going to have to retighten it and it gets all offset. So we got the cap on, we got the coolant in, we got the oil in the motor. I think I'm going to put the relay for the fuel pump back in, and then we're going to try and crank the car up. Here's our relay. Put it in, and then we'll go ahead and we'll turn the key and we'll check for leaks at the fuel filter outside here. All right, go for it. All right, turn it off. Turn it back on. All right, we got pressure. Looks good.
Go for it.
Give her a crank. Crank right up there, didn't it, Mike?
Start right out, man. Start right out. It's kicked on.
Huh?
Fan just kicked on second time.
Oh, yeah. I was going to switch this over. Heat. See if that does anything. Alright, so we're just a little bit low. We'll add a little bit more oil to it, and everything should be okay. So one more thing we noticed when we were heating up and bleeding out the cooling system is it looks like a couple of our injector O-rings are leaking, and you can see it right there, and it's puddled up at the bottom of the injector. Looks like here these are leaking, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a new set of them and we'll change it out. So when those come in is when we'll take the car for a test drive, and we'll bring it over to the dyno, and we'll see how the car is running now after we did all this work. But I'm going to still screw this up. I can feel it. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. The last thing I told you about is my fuel injectors were leaking, and if you see, there is a few different changes here. The old setup that we had with the 90-degree fittings coming out of here contacted the hood right here and right here. Thank goodness it didn't hit this part, so it doesn't show the dent, it hit the webbing. So that prompted me to find a different solution for the breathers, which turned out to be these pretty cool swivel 90-degree radium connectors. Those worked out perfectly. I moved it over to this side to try and clean up some of this area here, and everything worked out really good. As far as the fuel injector leak went, the O-rings that went at the top, they just were old. They had been through ethanol, and then they sat, and then they were cleaned, and then they went in here. I probably should have just replaced them when I got them cleaned. I didn't, so I picked up a new set of ID injector O-rings for those. $2.50 each. A little expensive, but what are you going to do? So we got everything together here. I'm still working on getting the plate to fit this, but these aren't coming out. So once I have that settled, everything will be done there. But for now, I think it's time to go take it for a ride, check it out, and then the next thing we'll do is probably put it back on the dyno and see some other things. But I might have a few other little things in store for the car. I think it's running pretty good. I know it's wet out, but it feels really nice. I can't complain about it. My oil pressure is holding good. I can't really see the air fuel. It's in the glove box right now. But overall, I think it's been doing pretty well. There we go. We can see it. The VTEC then the boost, right? But I must say, overall, with this car, when you want it to really perform, it performs. And then I throw the car into fifth, LS fifth gear. We got the AC on, and we can just ride out. The idea about this car was to try not to compromise the stuff that would make me not want to drive the car on a regular day to and from work. So AC and heat was a necessity with the build. It's working okay now. I do know I do have some more tinkering I have to do with the fan, because in real hot temperatures it's not moving enough air and overpressurizing and purging the refrigerant out of the system. But overall, this car is exactly what I want it to be. Rowdy when it needs to be and comfortable when it needs to be. And I think we're definitely ready for maybe some dyno pulls. Maybe we're ready for some flex fuel. But I can definitely tell you one thing. It does this whenever I want it to. We're going to end this video taking a little ride around the neighborhood. But, you know, the whole idea for this car was to constantly be making adjustments and changing some things and tinkering with the car. I don't ever want a car that's done being worked on. So I think coming up here, we're definitely going to be looking at a flex fuel system, maybe an upgrade to the Honda. I have a version 2. I would like version 3. It has Bluetooth, flex fuel capabilities, and also something I noticed is this transmission seems to be leaking a little bit from the main shaft seal. So this may be the proper time to dust the Spoon EK9 transmission that I have laying around and toss in the car and see how that goes while I rebuild this one and get it perfect. Because honestly, this is the all-around perfect transmission, GSR gearing with the LS fifth and a limited slip differential. But for now, that's going to wrap it for this video, and I hope you guys are going to stay tuned for the next one, because that's going to be the goal for 300 horsepower. Hopefully we can get it with this setup. That's always kind of been the goal for the car. I think with the addition of ethanol and a retune, we can definitely get there. Now that's going to be it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Let's hit it.